Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening. A rapid bus network has been earmarked to solve transport troubles for those heading to and from the Macquarie Point Stadium. The Deputy Premier says it's about efficiency, but light rail advocates believe it will only cause more headaches for commuters.
The wheels on the bus will go round and round the northern suburbs transit corridor.
The benefit of rapid bus is that you can move large numbers of people into and out of Macquarie Point, but then you can also take them and disperse them back out into the suburbs from which they came.
Michael Ferguson is in the driver's seat of a bus rapid transit network that's designed to service from Glenorchy to the city, while also making room for a Macquarie Point commuter influx.
Macquarie Point is the connector for a lot of the transport corridors. It's uniquely positioned.
More lanes and stations are needed to make it possible, but rail advocates argue it's a cost blowout waiting to happen.
We've got a railway there. It only needs to be upgraded a little bit, enhanced, stations built. It's going to be a lot cheaper than destroying it and turning into a concrete busway.
We need to have improved public transport around the major city centres. That's a no-brainer, and there should have been much more happening before now.
Expanding ferry access to the waterfront is also part of the plan as the feds reiterate the fine print of their financial commitment.
We've also got to fix some of the urban congestion problems as well, and part of this money for the stadium has to also look at transport connections.
With the benefits of rail investment previously outlined in a state government commissioned report.
It actually said that rail was 4 times better in terms of the uptake, in terms of the use.
But the Transport Minister insists.
We're a bus state.
Ruling out the prospect of a light rail future in Tasmania. Grace Evans, 7 Tasmania News.
Meanwhile, a petition against the Mach Point Stadium development has now garnered close to 6,000 signatures online. The group says it's the wrong priority for Tasmania and claims the state has been bullied into the proposal by the AFL, instead pointing to an upgrade of Bellerive Oval as the way forward. And Western Australian Premier Mach has taken aim at Tasmania, sparking his latest GST war with the state. He claims the work of Western Australians is essentially paying for the new waterfront stadium in Hobart.
You know, they need to understand that we finally got a fair deal for Western Australia. They're still getting hugely subsidised by us. They need to just maybe, stop complaining.
A state government spokesperson has responded to the swipe, saying it appears the only 2 Labor leaders in the country against the Mach Point precinct and the team it will deliver are Mark McGowan and Rebecca White. A turbocharged construction sector and jobs market has launched Tasmania to the top of the nation's economies, according to CommSec's latest State of the States report. But some sectors are worried their concerns are concealed behind a glowing headline.
Do the State of the State stats paint a rosy picture, or are they a little gloomy, like the weather today?
I'm singing in the rain. I'm loving the economic raindrops.
Well, it depends who you ask. Tasmania is the nation's best performing economy, according to the CommSec report, buoyed by having the country's strongest job market, with unemployment at 3.8% in March, nearly 40% below what it's been on average in the past decade. And the number of new dwellings being built, nearly 18% above the decade average, eclipsing all other states and territories.
Taking first place 11 times out of the last 13 reports is actually incredible.
But Master Builders suggests there's devil in the detail.
What it does hide is some recent weakness over the past 12 months in new housing starts.
And with Tasmania struggling to build the 3,100 homes needed year on year, supply chain disruptions and workforce stresses are front of mind.
Unless there is more investment in the residential sector in particular, that we're not expected to meet that target again until 2026.
One area showing no sign of slowing though is civil and commercial construction, especially with the stadium injection here at Mach Point still to come.
Tasmania is number 1, but all the states and territories are doing very well at the moment.
It's cold comfort to those like Lorraine McGovern, who's waiting to access more suitable social housing after suffering a stroke.
It is down that I need 2-bedroom place in case I need someone to stay overnight, because I do fall overnight. and I can't get up.
As the tussle for tradies, tools and timber goes on throughout the industry. Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
The state government is vowing to make the salmon industry invest in Tasmanian communities as part of a new 10-year strategy. The plan is being criticised, though, for not doing more to force fish pens onshore, as new video is released claiming to show the impact of farms on local waterways.
Its vision, activists say, outlines the damage of fish farms to local waterways. It claims this video, taken last Sunday near a salmon pen at Eggs in Bacon Bay, shows a reef dying.
There are no longer any crays, there are no longer any abalone, there are no longer any fish, and it's dying because of nutrient overload.
The EPA says it's unaware of any issues, while the minister questioned their motives.
You can't produce an unverified video, put a circle on a map, and then expect government to react. If these people are really serious that there is an issue here, they need to get in touch.
Also coinciding with the government releasing its new 10-year plan for the salmon industry.
This is an industry that desperately wants the Tasmanian people's approval.
Expanding into Storm Bay among the plans for growth. Also on the agenda, existing licences and a ban on East Coast pens will continue. The salmon portal will be expanded to be more transparent, while businesses will pay more to cover the government's costs and give back to the community.
Something that will require a much more complete analysis, but also then consultation both with industry but also the community at large about what's an appropriate return.
Not everyone is hooked, with Salmon Tasmania warning new charges put future investment at risk. Environmentalists, meanwhile, are upset nothing will be done to move farms onshore.
There is nothing in this plan over the next 10 years to move out of Tasmania's rivers and inshore areas.
I don't see anything new in here. So it's just another piece of paper.
A petition carrying more than 3,000 community signatures will be tabled in Parliament when it next sits. The minister, however, is backing salmon.
They want this industry shut down, but we're not going to do that.
John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
An on-board tragedy forced the Spirit of Tasmania to head back to Geelong Port last night. Passengers first thought the incident was a drill before realising a man had gone overboard. The ferry eventually docking in Devonport just before midday.
Back in port just hours after departure, the Spirit of Tasmania reporting a person overboard.
This is the captain speaking. What you heard was the emergency muster signal, and I require your full attention.
Passengers were at first told it was a drill.
At 8:30 last night, saw some crews started gathering around and they started seating people. They said it was a training exercise.
There's been an incident on board and we are taking immediate corrective action to rectify the situation.
The major transport vessel delayed while the search took place, circling Port Phillip Bay for more than an hour while rescue efforts were carried out.
We are required to return to our berth at Crikey South in Geelong.
Later, Victoria Police confirmed the death of a 46-year-old Victorian man, but say the incident is not suspicious. The ship set sail late into the night to ensure there were no delays to freight.
We were meant to arrive at 6 a.m, but ended up being 11:30 due to the circumstances.
It's understood Spirit of Tasmania staff on board have been offered support, with the ship set to sail again tonight as scheduled. Talia Jordan, 7 Tasmania News.
And if this story caused you distress, you can contact Lifeline on 13 11 14. A Tasmanian boy bitten by a shark while on a family holiday in Western Australia will undergo more surgery tomorrow. This operation will determine 11-year-old Archie Blake's full recovery process.
Tomorrow's surgery, how it goes, the amount of swelling, all of those things will be considered by the expert paediatric surgeons in Perth. And they will determine whether or not he requires further surgical intervention. And hopefully for Archie, he doesn't.
Archie will require ongoing antibiotic therapy due to the high risk of infection. His family is grateful for the support shown already, with a GoFundMe for the family raising more than $18,000 for his recovery. Well, senior management at the Launceston General Hospital has apologised over the death of a toddler nearly 2 years ago. The coroner finding the hospital failed to adhere to its own procedures for paediatric care, leading to a delay in diagnosing a bowel obstruction in a 19-month-old girl. Coroner Simon Cooper says a delay in transferring the little girl to the Royal Hobart Hospital may have been the difference between life and death. The LGH says it's already implemented a number of recommendations, including increased training for doctors. A Tasmanian company has Australia's defence expansion on its radar as it begins delivering on a project for New Zealand's Navy. The first of 3 high-performance boats has been handed over by PFG. Each vessel is built with a special polyethylene material, which the company says requires less maintenance. PFG is also looking towards what our country's Defence Force is preparing to build.
We've now got a proven track record of being a reliable military supplier. So we think that holds us in very good stead for the forthcoming Australian tenders.
They would see the business continue to ramp up and grow over the next 5 to 12 years if we're successful.
The other 2 vessels are expected to be finished in the coming months. Around half of the places on offer in free TAFE courses have now been snapped up. More than 2,200 students have shaved the cost of their training so far. It's targeting sectors facing critical shortages like aged care, early childhood support and technology.
They're acquiring skills that are needed for the Tasmanian economy.
The government will look to add more fee-free places once the ones on offer are snapped up. Large sections of the Tasmanian Highlands are off limits to the public in a major push to reduce feral species. The month-long program is using aerial shooting operations, hoping to eradicate wild fallow deer in the Wilderness World Heritage Area.
It's Tasmania's rugged, heavily forested heart, and it's set to be scoured over the next month for threats to a delicate environment.
So we know that we have a problem with deer and we have to make sure that we're managing that as responsibly as we can.
Eyes in the Sky will be used to check a vast area closed down to the public. No-go zones include the Walls of Jerusalem National Park, the Central Plateau and parts of the Great Western Tiers conservation areas. Helicopters carrying shooters will be heading out at dawn and dusk, searching for the feral pest posing a threat to native plants and animals.
Aerial operations are the most efficient. Ground hunting over 114,000 hectares on rough terrain is just not going to be achievable within a month.
Teams will use thermal infrared detection technology to spot the fallow deer.
This allows the shooters to actually identify the animals in thick vegetation.
The RSPCA says it's repeatedly sought assurances from the state government that the cull will be both humane and abide by the national standards. The animal welfare group saying it's keeping a close eye on the process.
The highest animal welfare standards are being adhered to. We've actually consulted with our Chief Veterinary Officer through this whole process.
The region will reopen from June 5. Annie Green, 7 Tasmania News.
A penguin which survived a brutal attack in Burnie will spend at least the next year in care while he recovers from his ordeal. The little penguin, named Tib by rescuers, was tortured in March at the West Beach colony. He needed significant surgery to repair a snapped tibia and remove a severely damaged toe. Tib won't be waterproof enough for the ocean until his leg feathers grow back, but until then he's content with being fed fish by his keepers.
To the TSL, Northern bomber Brandon Leary has given credit to his teammates for Saturday's first win of the season. North Launceston's defence was able to hold off Clarence, giving the 19-year-old the chance to bag 6 goals.
I'm a confidence player, so when I kick a couple or lay a good tackle or something like that, I get up and about and play pretty well.
The team will take on Lauderdale at UTAS on Saturday. Time to take a look now at the Cripps TSL Player of the Year votes for round 4. And the man we just heard from, Brandon Leary, locked away the votes for North. The D's Jack McCulloch claimed bragging rights in the game against Glenorchy. And Jack Tompkinson was best on ground for Kingborough ahead of Nick Baker and Sam Siggins. And Tompkinson is way out in front on the leaderboard, 9 votes. Jack McCulloch has 4. Devonport's new recruit from Southampton, Luke Bennett, is embracing the club, saying the Northwest powerhouse feels like a family. The attacking midfielder was part of the Strikers' 2-1 win over Kingborough in the Lacko Seljack Cup. Few secrets were given away in today's presser as the clubs prepare to square off again in this weekend's NPL.
The culture around the club is just always the next game, next training session.
Need a short-term memory this week because, again, we have the same opponent this weekend.
While Danielle Canangaisa's goal on the stroke of half-time gave her Kingborough Lions the breathing space they needed against Clarence Zebras.
Getting a goal right on half-time, you do have such a burst of momentum that you almost do want to play another couple of minutes.
The 3-2 win was even sweeter for Canangaisa, having defected to Kingborough after a long stint with the Zebras. It's time to hit the road for Sarah Coit. She's off to New South Wales after 3 years with the Tigers. Along with being a recent Player of the Year for the side, the 32-year-old's most memorable game was taking 3 wickets and a final over run-out to secure the last WNCL trophy. She's heading home to New South Wales on a 2-year deal. And Tasmania's rising motorsport star Lockie Dalton has landed a podium finish in Perth in his first full Super 2 season. The Brad Jones racing driver managed to avoid a specky clash, sending one driver into the sand. Another incident saw a driver's wheel come off. Dalton's drive also shrugged off some of the problems he'd had in earlier rounds.
We did a lot of prep and really talked and worked with each other, so yeah, I come in a lot better mindset into this round and I think we sort of hit the ground running.
It's the 21-year-old's first Super 2 podium. A rising star of the sport indeed. Great to see, Kim.
Good evening. I don't think anyone was terribly impressed with today's numbers. Hobart just 12 degrees, Launceston 13, Devonport 15 and Burnie 16 degrees. Smithton's 18 was the warmest, ahead of Strawn and King Island where 17 was the top. Flinders Island and St Helens 15 today. Lowhead 13, Lyawini a high of 10 after registering our low of -2. Extensive mid to high level cloud moved over us today in the 6 hours to 3 p.m. Out of that cloud we had Tasman Island with our highest rainfall 10 millimetres. More cloud spotted over central WA and northern South Australia. The onshore flow had cloud to the southern coastal regions of the nation as well. Tomorrow, a weakening cold front crosses Tasmania, another not far behind it. A high centred west of Perth extends a ridge over most of the mainland. West to northwest winds tomorrow, generally to 20 knots, but blowing up to around 30 knots over northern waters. Swells to 3.5 metres in western and southern waters. Strong wind warning up in the corner there. That's from Sandy Cape to Stanley. Forecast for tomorrow. 18 degrees, showers developing for Hobart, showers for Adventure Bay and also for Tarraleah, 14 the top there. Launceston tomorrow 19 with showers developing, 18 for Devonport, showers on the way too for Bridport, 17 the maximum. Burnie expecting those sort of conditions as well, a bit cooler, 17 tomorrow, 16 for Strawn, showery for Marrawar and 16 as well. And in the east a shower or two, St Helens 19 along with Swansea, Whitemark on Flinders Island 18 degrees. On to Wednesday and showers extending statewide again before easing and contracting to the west and south. Fine on Thursday apart from a light shower over the west and south. Hobart and Launceston reaching the dizzy heights of 17 degrees. And on Friday showers in the west extending statewide during the day before shifting to the northeast in the evening. Fine and sunny in Perth, 25 there tomorrow. Showers developing in Adelaide and Melbourne. Sunny and mid-20s for Sydney and Brisbane. And it's nearly time to pack the bags for Darwin. A nice 3 months ahead there, 35 tomorrow. Not so much here, just 11 in Hobart, 11 right now in Launceston, cloudy over Devonport and 13 degrees. Kim, after watching the football on the weekend, I've given it up. When's the cricket season start?
It's a while away yet, Murph. You won't have to take up something else in between. Well, that is all your news for now. I'll be back later with updates. Thanks for your company tonight. Good night.